let's see if this has gone live. Right, we're live. Alright. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Subhanallah. Inna alhamdulillahi wa kafah. Wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-Mustafa. Wa ala ibadihi alladhina irtada. Wa man bihudahum ihtada. Wa bi athari ahli al-Madinati iqtafa. Wa ba'd. Fa salamullahi alaykum. مرة أخرى, people, أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا وbienvenidos de vuelta. Once again, welcome back. So, Abu Zahra, Yasin, Hasan, Sana'ullah, Assalamu alaikum, folks. Hope things are good. I just hope everybody can hear me okay. Kimberly, right, so what a day, people, what a day. I apologize for being late, but what a day. Damn. Amazing. Been meeting up with some heavy mashallah. I've been in the blessed company of Ustad Noman Ali Khan. It's always a pleasure to be with him, and people like Sheikh Akram Nadwi, amazing people, scholars within the West. So it's been amazing, it's been intense. But let's get back to what a lot of you have been waiting on. Right, so Jamaa, bienvenidos, sí. Right, that's what eso es lo que estoy hablando. That's what I'm talking about. My Spanish is getting there, I'm trying. So, right, now, okay, I'm going to get some of these questions forwarded to me. So, hopefully, that'll save time for people to not have to repeat them. Right, just give me a moment. Just going to say, I'll get that done. Right, so, now, okay, so first of all, people, I know there's been a hell of a lot of discourse, a hell of a lot. Seems to be a hornet's nest that's been opened up. A lot of people asking a lot of questions. I want to clarify and shed some light and hopefully guide perhaps some people. Let me just get my drink, people, my drink. Oh, that's gonna fall. Right, so let's put it like that. Nope, that's not good. Right, well, look at that. Espanol. Right, so let's put that on there, let it rest. Right, so people, first of all, I want to clarify some things which have been asked quite a bit following last week's, this whole thing to do with the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, I think it's very important that I get through this, and then I will be trying to take your questions as well, okay? So, but I want to get through this first, okay? First of all, last week, I answered one of the questions amongst the many questions was to do with a companion, you're well aware, Muawiya radiallahu an, amongst the great companions. Now, I was asked to give my position on him and be honest. Now, I want to say something here, that there was a context to that, okay? It had been almost 2 to 3 weeks, I had been seeing on Facebook people making several posts, right? I had been seeing this, I'd been witnessing this. People making several posts, dissing, insulting, disparaging, abusing verbally Muawiya radiallahu an. Okay. Now I stayed quiet. I did not engage those people. Unquestionably, I was offended. Unquestionably. But I did not engage the people. Right? People were not only doing these things, they were spreading this as nonsense, as this is Ahlus Sunnah. Right? This is another thing which I'll clarify, I'll shed a bit of light on. Now, then, following that, I was asked on my Monday nights that, can you speak about Muawiya? So there was a context to this. I did not, some people thought that, they asked me the question that, did I just come on here and open a can of worms for people? No, I did not. There was a whole context going on for a few weeks online where people, and I was seeing it on my timeline again and again, and a few people, they were constantly abusing and insulting Muawiya. The words they were using was that he was a villain, he was Judas, he was a bad person, he was wrong. Some people insinuating whether he died a kafir. People doing all these things constantly about Muawiya radiallahu anhu. Then I was asked, and some of them kept saying, oh, what's wrong with this? We're doing this under the banner of objectivity. Okay, now, when I was asked, that kind of just was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you like, that I was asked on my own show, on this, about my live Q&A about Muawiya. So I thought, I just could not hold back. So that was the context. Now, people have asked me to clarify certain things. I'm happy to clarify, okay? And I want to clarify certain things. I want to first of all clarify certain questions. Before we get into, and then I'm going to go through what Ahlus Sunnah actually believe, and then I'll tackle some follow-up questions, and then I'll look at the rest of the questions that you guys have got as well, okay? So, first of all, I've been asked, what do I believe about Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu? Now, I believe, and this is me, myself, in my words, saying it to you. You do not need to infer what I believe. You do not need to kind of, do some detective work. I myself am telling you, okay? I believe Sayyidina Ali is amongst the greatest companions that ever lived, okay? I believe he was, has amongst the most credit in Islam, along with people like Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman. Okay, I believe that he was amongst the rightly guided Khulafa, and absolutely awesomely amazing personality, a fountain and an ocean of knowledge. That is my understanding of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. Okay, as it is with people like Umar, as it is with Abu Bakr, as it is with Uthman. Okay, I believe these people to be great people. The problem was not, what do I think about Sayyidina Ali? The problem was, people were attacking Muawiya for having fought against Sayyidina Ali. They had then said that, well, Sayyidina Ali is always upon that, and I'll deal with some of these things. I had advised people that we as Ahlus Sunnah do not discuss, really, we do not, that is the primary understanding of our beliefs. We do not get into their fights, okay? People said, well, why not? We just want to be objective. In light of that, I then highlighted, well, okay, the problem with being objective was when people only, there's a selective focus. When they say they want to be objective, they only mean Muawiya. And I gave an example. I quoted Imam Malik. Now, this was Imam Malik I'm quoting. Now, I know somebody did a video on me, some guy called Umar, and he said, well, look, I'm talking about the hadith. I was not talking about the hadith. I made it very clear. I was talking about Imam Malik's statement, which is brought in the Tartib al-Madarik, right, by Qadi Iyad. It's brought in there. He is asked, who are the best of companions? And Imam Malik says, Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman. And then he stays quiet. And then the person says, yeah, what about Ali? And he says, this is his objective position. He says, well, I feel all of them are the same after that. And the person asks him, and he says, in this one riwayah which is in the Tartib by Qadi Iyad, he says, I don't feel the person who pursued governance is like those who did not. So this is Imam Malik. Now I'm presenting what Imam Malik has said. And people were up in arms. Oh my God, he's insulted Sayyidina Ali. First of all, that was not an insult. To say somebody wants governance, well, okay, you might find it insulting, but Sayyidina Ali was fit for governance. Okay, he was ideal for governance. He was the most deserving person for governance at the time. Now, there's nothing wrong in that. When Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam is asked by the king about, he says, which is in the Quran, Ij'alni ala khaza'in al-ard. Why don't you put me in charge? Inni hafizun alim. Indeed, I am somebody who is incredibly wise at safeguarding and very knowledgeable. He himself is saying that he's a prophet, way above Ali, right? So the thing is, that's not necessary, unless you want to take it as an insult, it's not an insult, okay? Now the thing is, but that was Imam Malik. I was being objective. What happens? People can't take it. This is why what I'd like to do is set some anchor points. Let's say, so whenever I explain something, I want to say, well, go back to that anchor, that main point which is firmly resting, okay? And this is the Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah, right? So this is what people in Ahlus Sunnah actually believe. And I'd like to go through certain quotes with us, okay? Let's go as far back as Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. He is asked about Ali wa Uthman wal Jamal wa Siffin ma kana baynahum. He is asked, and this is in the Tabaqat al-Kubra, is transmitted. He's asked, what do you say about all these battles that happened? He said that tilka dima'un kaffa Allahu yadi anha. That though that is certain bloodshed that Allah didn't let my hand reach. Allah basically didn't place me where that bloodshed was going on. He says, فَأَنَا أَكْرَى أَنْ أَغْمِسَ لِسَانِي فِيهَا. Allah didn't let my hand reach that bloodshed. Why should I dip my tongue in that blood? This was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Okay. Now, this is an awesome statement. People are misquoting, right? People are misquoting. This is Hasan al-Basri. Hasan al-Basri was somebody who generally people transmit, he preferred the side of Ali radiallahu anh. People transmit that. But listen to what he said about all of this, about these fights that broke out between the companions. He says, Qitalun, that is a battle, those were battles, shahidahu ashabu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ghibna. They were present, but we were absent. We didn't attend it. He says, وَعَلِمُوا, they knew, وَجَهِلْنَا, but we were ignorant about what happened. We were ignorant about what happened, but they had knowledge. He says, وَاجْتَمَعُوا, when they are united, فَاتَّبَعْنَا, we followed. And he says, وَاخْتَلَفُوا, and when they have disagreed amongst them, فَوَقَفْنَا, then we just stand. We do not get involved like that. But let's carry on. Okay. Khalal, who's the student of Ahmad Ibn Hambal, in his book Sunnah, transmits, okay, some of the Salaf, when they are asked, they say, and I'm going to go through certain things of Aqeedah, they say, اذكروا محاسن أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Mention the good things about the companions of the Messenger of Allah. ما تأتلف عليه القلوب ولا تذكروا. Do not mention الذي شجر بينهم, that which led to the fights between them. فتحرش الناس عليهم, and that you should end up making people hate them. Do not mention that. Okay, let's go on. Now, Ahmad Ibn Hambal, okay, in the Tabaqat of the Hanabila is transmitted, and in other books, in Khalal Sunnah and other books, he says that there was an ijma' of the Salaf or Fuqaha al-Amsar, that the scholars agreed upon, Al-Kaf amma shajara bayna ashab Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says that we stop. We do not get involved in the fights that occurred between the companions. وأفضل الناس بعد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أبو بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وابن عم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says we believe these people to be the best of the companions. وترحم على الجميع, and we ask Allah's mercy upon all of them. Right. Now, and then he says, فَهَذِهِ السُنَّةِ, this is the sunnah, إِلْزَمُوهَا تَسْلَمُوا, stick to this sunnah, you will be safe. That he says, أَخْذُهَا هُدَى, as long as you hold on to it, you will be guided. وَتَرْكُهَا ضَلَالًا, and leaving this is misguidance. Let's carry on with Aqeedah. Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, in his Risala ila Ahl al-Thaghr, the consensus, the 48th consensus, he says, وَأَجْمَعُوا, this is Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, those of people who claim to be Ash'ari, this is what he's saying is part of the Aqeedah. وَأَجْمَعُوا عَلَى الْكَفِّ عن ذكر الصحابة عليه السلام إلا بخير ما يذكرون به. They have a consensus. We have a consensus. We do not mention the companions except with goodness. وعلى أنهم أحق أن ينشر محاسنهم. And he says, and that they are the best of people regarding whom we can spread their virtues. ويلتمس لأفعالهم أفضل المخارج. And that we seek for any faults of this the best ta'wil interpretation. This is Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, okay? The father of the Ash'ari Aqeedah, which is the majority of the Muslims worldwide today, okay? وَأَنَّ ظُنَّ بِهِمْ أَحْسَنَ الظَّنِّ وَأَحْسَنَ الْمَذَاهِبِ. That's him. Right, let's go to Abu Bakr al-Jarjani al-Ismaili al-Shafi'i in his في اعتقاد أئمة أهل الحديث. Right, what does he have to say? He says, وَالْكَفُّ عَنِ الْوَقِيعَةِ فِيهِمْ, that we stop from backbiting or insulting or abusing or saying anything derogatory about them. وَتَأَوَّلُ الْقَبِيحِ عَلَيْهِمْ, and if there's anything we think is bad from them, we interpret it in a good light. That's from his book, Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah. Okay, of Al-Ismaili. Let's go to what young Malik, the Don Ibn Abi Zayd says. The legendary, the people, they said his book was to be written in gold. Okay, he's also referred to as young Malik. He says, وَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الْقُرُونِ الْقَرْنَ الَّذِي رَأَوْا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَآمَنُوا بِهِ, that the best of generations was those who saw the Prophet and they had faith in him. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and then he says that they were then those who came and those who came, and then he mentions the best of them, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, and then he says that we do not mention the companions illa bi ahsani dhikr, except with the best of remembrance. We don't call them Judas, we don't call them traitors, we don't call them villain, with the best of remembrance. وَالْإِمْسَاكُ عَمَّا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ, and we stop on the disputes that occurred between them. وَأَنَّهُمْ أَحَقُّ النَّاسِ أَنْ يُلْتَمَسَ لَهُمْ أَحْسَنُ الْمَخَارِجِ, and they are the best of people who you can find a good excuse for. Tell me, if your father got caught doing something, would you find an excuse for him? If your brother got caught doing something, would your friend, if your sheikh got caught doing something, would you not find an excuse? These were the best of people. The best. Right? People say today objectivity. Ibn al-Mubarak, when he's asked about who would you say Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was better or Muawiya, he says the dust that was on Muawiya was better than Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Right? So let's go on. I'm not stopping here. Ibn Battah al-Akbari, he writes in his book on the Sharh وَالْإِبَانَةِ عَلَى أُصُولِ السُّنَّةِ وَالدِّيَانَةِ, in his book of Aqeedah, he says that on Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah, وَمِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ نَكُفُّ عَمَّا شَجَرَ بَيْنَ أَصْحَابِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. We stop on the disputes. We do not get involved in the disputes between the messenger, the companions of the messenger. فَقَدْ شَهِدُوا الْمَشَاهِدِ مَعَهُ. They witnessed things, battles with him, with the Prophet. وَسَبَقُوا النَّاسَ بِالْفَضْلِ They preceded us to good deeds and virtue. فَقَدْ غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ وَأَمَرَكَ بِالْإِسْتِغْفَارِ لَهُمْ And Allah has forgiven them their shortcomings, and He's commanded us to seek forgiveness for them. وَتَقَرَّبْ إِلَيْهِ بِمُحَبَّتِهِمْ And we get close to Allah by loving them. سَيَكُونُ مِنْهُمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ سَيَقْتَتِلُونَ And that they will have fought. Knowing this, Allah knew this. The Prophet said in a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, he said that it will be soon, the hour will not come, حَتَّى تَقْتَتِلَ فِئَتَانِ عَظِيمَتَانِ مِنْ أُمَّتِي From my ummah, two great armies will fight. مَقْتَلَةً عَظِيمًا A great fight, a great battle. وَدَعْوَاهُمَا وَاحِدًا Yet their claim, their da'wah is one. One is not calling to the hellfire. They're calling one. That's in Sahih Bukhari. The same words used when the Prophet said that once again, Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet says, Inna ibni hadha, about Hasan, Inna ibni hadha la sayyid, this son of mine is a leader. لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ أَن يُصْلِحَ بِهِ That fi'atain azimatain, that Allah will, min al-Muslimin, that two great armies, the same wording used again, that He will unite them. And what does He do? He does unite them. But let's take a look here. He says Allah knew that they would do that, yet He asks us to seek forgiveness for them. وَإِنَّمَا فُضِّلُوا عَلَى سَائِرِ الْخَلْقِ لِأَنَّ الْخَطَأ وَالْعَمْدِ قَدْ وُضِعَ عَنْهُمْ Yes, they make mistakes. Yes, they do. But Allah says He's forgiven them. He will forgive them. This is what we make dua for as well. And He says, وَكُلُّ مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ مَغْفُورٌ لَهُمْ And every dispute that happened between them, inshallah, is forgiven for them. They were great people. Right. What does the Don of Ahlus Sunnah, Abu Bakr al-Baqilani, the famous Maliki of Iraq, the student of Qadi Ismail, what does he say? The second major figure in the Ash'ari Aqeedah. What does he say? In his book Tamheed, he says, وَيَجِبْ أَن يُعْلَمْ And it is necessary that we know أَنَّ مَا جَرَى بَيْنَ أَصْحَابِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ وَرَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ مِنَ الْمُشَاجَرَةِ That the fights and arguments that happen between the Sahaba, نَكُفُّ عَنْهُ We must stop from getting involved in it. وَنَتَرَحَّمْ عَلَى الْجَمِيعِ And we seek Allah's mercy for all of them. وَنُثْنِي عَلَيْهِمْ And we praise them. وَنَسْأَلُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى لَهُمُ الرِّضْوَانِ وَالْأَمَانِ وَالْفَوْزِ وَالْجِنَانِ And we ask Allah for their safety, security, their blessings, and for paradise for them. Now check this out. Baqilani, from the father figures of the Ash'ari Aqeedah, Abu Bakr al-Baqilani, known in Aqeedah as Al-Qadi, the judge. He says, وَنَعْتَقِدُ أَنَّ عَلِيًّا عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ أَصَابَ فِي مَا فَعَلْ He takes sides. He himself takes sides. He says, I believe personally that Ali was more correct. He was correct in this decision to take battle. This was Qadi al-Baqilani's decision. His understanding. He says, فَلَهُ أَجْرًا وَأَنَّ الصَّحَابَةَ مَا صَدَرَ عَنْهُمْ مِنْهُمْ مَا صَدَرَ مِنْهُمْ كَانَ بِاجْتِهَادٍ And what the Sahaba did was with ijtihad. People said on my Facebook, show me where does it say that they did this with ijtihad. It's full in the books of Ahlus Sunnah. He says it was with ijtihad. فَلَهُمُ الْأَجَرُ وَلَا يُفَسَّقُونَ They had rewards. They are not considered sinful. وَلَا يُبَدَّعُونَ We do not consider them misguided. And then he mentions the dalil, the verse of the Quran, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ And people said to me, oh, you can't mention that verse. This is the father of Ahlus Sunnah. One of the father figures, Al-Baqilani, mentioning the same verse. And then he says, the Prophet said, if somebody capable of ijtihad does ijtihad, he gets 2 rewards if he gets it right. If he gets it wrong, he gets 1 reward. And then he says the same hadith which I just quoted to you about Hasan, that inna fi'atain azimatain min al-Muslimin, that these 2 great armies will fight and Hasan will resolve it for them. And he mentions, وَإِذَا أَخْطَأَ And those who got it wrong, فَلَهُ أَجَرٌ They will get rewards. Okay? So this is That's in his book Al-Insaf, and he does say in the Tamheed as well. Let's take a look at what Abu Nu'aym al-Asbahani said. He says in his Imama, لم يختلف أحد من أهل العلم. Nobody from the people of knowledge disagreed في كل زمان, in every age, that the ashab, the companions of the messenger, فيما اختلفوا فيه واجتهدوا فيه من الرأي, and that which they did ijtihad in and disputed over and fought over, مأجورون محمودون, that they are still rewarded and praiseworthy. وإن كان الحق مع بعضهم, even if we believe that the truth was with some rather than others. Okay. What does Abu Amr ad-Dani, the famous Andalusi Maliki scholar and the famous Qari as well, you know, for qira'at and the transmissions of the Quran, what does he say? Right, this is in his Risalatul Wafiyah li Madhhabi Ahlus Sunnah, when he's explaining the Madhhab of Ahlus Sunnah. He says that when it comes to the Sahaba, you only mention their fada'il, wa tunshar mahasinuhum, you only spread their good deeds, right? Wa tumsik amma siwa dhalik mimma shajara bainahum, right? You do not get into the disputes between them. Wa idha dhukira ashabi fa amsiku. And he mentions this hadith, he says, because the messenger said, when my companions are mentioned, stop. Okay, that's him mentioning this hadith from the Prophet. And then he says, وَيَجِبُ أَن يُلْتَمَسْ لَهُمْ أَحْسَنُ الْمَخَارِجِ, and it is obligatory that we find the best excuses for them. وَأَجْمَلُ الْمَذَاهِبِ لِمَكَانِهِمْ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ. Right. So, okay, let's see what Abu Uthman as-Sabuni said, from the who died in 449 Hijri. In his Aqeedah to Salaf, he says, وَيَرَوْنَ الْكَفْ عَمَّا شَجَرَ بَيْنَ أَصْحَابٍ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He says, and we see that we stop. We do not get involved. وَتَطْحِيرُ الْأَلْسِنَةِ, we purify our tongues when it comes to mentioning them. And he says, and we do not mention what has an aib, what has a blemish regarding them, or naqs. وَيَرَوْنَ التَّرَحَّمْ عَلَى جَمِيعِهِمْ, we see seeking mercy for all of them. Okay. What does Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, Hanbali, famous scholar with one of the greatest books in Islam, right, Al-Mughni in fiqh, what does he say? He says from the Sunnah that that you love the companions of the Prophet, and you seek mercy for them, and you seek forgiveness for them. وَالْكَفُّ عَنْ ذِكْرِ مَصَاوِئِهِمْ وَمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ, and you stop and abstain from mentioning any of their faults or their disputes. وَاعْتِقَادِ فَضْلِهِمْ وَمَعْرِفَةِ سَابِقَتِهِمْ, and you recognize that they preceded us with virtue. What does Imam Nawawi say? People, let's go to Imam Nawawi. Is he not one of the great Imams of Ahlus Sunnah? Right, people have been quoting Imam Nawawi. Let's see what Imam Nawawi says. He says, وَاعْلَمَ أَنَّ الدِّمَاءَ الَّتِي جَرَتْ بَيْنَ الصَّحَابَةِ لَيْسَتْ بِدَاخِلَ فِي هَذَا الْوَعِيدِ. He's commenting on a hadith when the Prophet says, Al-Qatil wa maqtulu fi an-nar, those who kill and get killed are in the hellfire. He says, know with certainty what happened amongst the companions is not included in this hadith. Okay? And then he says, وَمَذْهَبُ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ وَالْحَقِّ إِحْسَانُ الظَّنِّ بِهِمْ, that the madhab of Ahlus Sunnah is that we only think good about them. والإمساك عما شجر بينهم وتأويل قتالهم وأنهم مجتهدون متأولون, that we only think good of them, we abstain from judgment, and that they were mujtahid, they did ijtihad, and we do good, and they had ta'wil, they interpreted things. لم يقصدوا معصية, they were not trying to disobey. And wala mahd dunya, neither the dunya, all these claims saying Muawiya was seeking the dunya, Muawiya, he says wala mahd dunya, bal اعتقد كل فريق أنه المحق, rather each group thought they were more upon the haqq, right? And then he mentions, but those like Sayyidina Ali says, فوجب عليه قتاله ليرجع إلى أمر الله. He says, وَكَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ مُصِيبًا, and one of them would have been correct, وَبَعْضُهُمْ مُخْطِئًا, and one of them may have been mistaken, مَعْذُورًا, but he's forgiven and excused, فِي الْخَطَأ لِأَنَّهُ اجتهاد. And he says, because it's ijtihad, وَالْمُجْتَهِدْ إِذَا أَخْطَأَ, he says, لَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. Right. And then he says, and he prefers that Ali was upon the haqq, and Muawiya did ijtihad and was rewarded for his ijtihad. This is Imam Nawawi. Let's see what Ibn Taymiyyah had to say. Ibn Taymiyyah in his Minhaj al-Sunnah, he says, كَانَ مِن مَذَاهِبِ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ الْإِمْسَاكِ أَمَّا شَجَرَ بَيْنَ الصَّحَابَةِ. That we stop from what from the disputes that happen, we abstain from it. What does Imam Dhahabi say? People keep quoting Imam Dhahabi. Right, let's see what Imam Dhahabi says. He says, كما تقرر عن الكف عن كثير مما شجر بين الصحابة وقتالهم رضي الله عنهم أجمعين. As it has been established that we abstain from the fighting that occurred between them. We do not pass judgments on them. Okay, he says وما زال يمر بنا ذلك في الدواوين والكتب. And then listen to this. This is Dhahabi, the person who writes history. He says وأكثر ذلك منقطع وضعيف. Okay, وَبَعْضُ كِذْب. He says most of that is distorted, it is weak, it is not established, and some of it are just lies. This is his word. فَيَنْبَغِي طَيُّهُ وَإِخْفَاؤُهُ. So we ought to fold it and hide it. إِخْفَاؤُهُ. Move it away, conceal it. بَلْ إِعْدَامُهُ. Rather destroy it. These are Dhahabi's words. لِتَصْفُ الْقُلُوبِ. So the hearts can be purified. وَتَتَوَفَّرْ عَلَى حُبِّ الصَّحَابَةِ. And so that they may be nurtured upon the love of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now check this out. وَكِتْمَانُ ذَلِكَ مُتَعَيٍّ عَنِ الْعَامَةِ. He says, and concealing these disturbances is an obligation from the masses of Muslims. Because the masses of people are just emotional. They're not a reason-based people. They just get emotional. Like people go, oh my God, this guy's attacking. He must be attacking Ali radiallahu anhu. So they just get emotional. Right? So, okay. What does Ibn Kathir say? He says, and this is in his Al-Ba'ith Al-Hadith, أَمَّا مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ فَمِنْهُ مَا وَقَعَ مِنْ غَيْرِ قَصْدٍ. He says some of it happened without intending. Like Yawm al-Jamal, the battle with Aisha, that the munafiqeen, the hypocrites started that fight. He says that happened without intent. وَمِنْهُ مَا كَانَ مِنْ ijtihad. And there was some which was with ijtihad, كَيَوْمِ Siffin, like that with Muawiya. وَالْإِجْتِهَادْ يُخْطِئ وَيُصِيبْ ولكن صاحبه معذور وإن أخطأ ومأجور أيضا. But the person who did ijtihad, Muawiya, is rewarded. Listen, this is Ibn. People saying to me, where do they say this in Ahlus Sunnah? This is all they say. Right? And he says, وَأَمَّا الْمُصِيبَ. And he who got it right gets 2 rewards. Okay. Ibn Hajar. Now I saw so many people quoting Ibn Hajar. Let's see what Ibn Hajar had to say. He says, وَاتَّفَقَ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ عَلَى وُجُوبِ مَنْعِ الطَّعَنِ عَلَى أَحَدٍ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ بسبب ما وقع لهم من ذلك. Ahl Sunnah have agreed it is an obligation to refrain from attacking, man'utta'an, or criticizing any of the Sahaba because of what happened to them. He says, وَلَوْ عُرِفَ الْمُحِقْ مِنْهُمْ. Even if you came to know who was upon truth from them. لأنهم لم يقاتلوا في تلك الحروب إلا عن اجتهاد. This is who? Ibn Hajar. They keep quoting Ibn Hajar. Listen to him. Right, this is in Fathul Bari. Right, in the 13th volume, page 37. He says, they fought bil ijtihad bal thabata annahu yu'jaru ajran. He says, rather such a person would still be rewarded. Okay, would still be rewarded. Then Ibn Hajar in his Isaba, people said, Muawiya, subhanallah, check this out. People said Muawiya is not trustworthy. Wow. Wow. What does Ibn Hajar say? This is in his Isaba, right? He says, اتفق أهل الإسلام أن جميع الصحابة عدول. All of the Sahaba are trustworthy. ولم يخالف في ذلك إلا شذوذ من المبتدعة. He says the only people who disagreed was a tiny amount of heretics. So just think about that. I want you to seriously think about what I've just been saying. This is not a joke. Like I'm mentioning to people. People were asking me, mention the Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah. Show us, where does it actually say these things? So I felt it necessary. Now this is our anchor point. Okay, I want you to use this to refer back to it. So whenever I say, well, what do we believe? Come back to this point. Okay? Because it is important. Now there's so many things here, but I just wanted to highlight some interesting things. Now this is interesting, people. What does Imam Tahawi say about our Aqeedah? Now listen to this. His book is heavily relied upon. He says, وَنُحِبُّ أَصْحَابَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, and we love the companions of the Messenger of Allah. He says, وَلَا نُفْرِطْ فِي حُبِّ أَحَدٍ مِّنْهُمْ. We do not excessively focus our love on one. All these people excessively just loving Ali only. This is not, he says, this is not the Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah. Right? This is Imam Tahawi in his Aqeedah Tahawiyah. He says, وَلَا نَتَبَرَّأْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ مِّنْهُمْ. And we do not say, oh, I've got nothing to do with any one of them. We do not say that. This is Imam Tahawi. And he says, وَلَا نُبْغِضْ مَنْ, he says, وَنُبْغِضْ مَنْ يُبْغِضُهُمْ. Anybody who has enmity towards them, we have enmity towards these people. This is what he's saying. وَلَا يَذْكُرُهُمْ إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ وَلَا نَذْكُرُهُمْ إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ. And we only mention them with goodness. وَحُبُّهُمْ, and their love is deen, وَإِيمان, وَإِحْسَان. That is the love for them. And he says, وَبُغْضُهُمْ is kufr wa tughyan. Right? So this, who am I quoting here, people? Who am I seriously quoting? This is Aqeedah Tahawiyah. This is what loads of people base their Aqeedah on this. Right now, here's an interesting one. Now, Imam Ahmad Ibn Hambal, and I've quoted this before, once again, saying that La yajuz, it is not permissible for anybody to mention anything to do with the faults of the Sahaba. A fatwa from Imam Ahmad Ibn Hambal. Okay, now there you go, people. Now, people are asking, where does it, what's wrong with this? You know, where does it say? Anas ibn Malik said in a hadith, right now, and this has been, it's in the Silsilat al-Sahihah of Al-Bani. He says, Man sabba ashabi. The Prophet said, whosoever abuses one of my companions, فَعَلَيْهِ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ. Okay? Then the curse of Allah and the angels wal malaika is upon him. Okay? Just so you understand that. And there's an amazing statement here, and I want to keep coming back to this. This is from Imam Malik. When people asked him about those who criticized the Sahaba, what did he say? He said that what is their end game? What are they trying to get at? All they're trying to get at, and I want to come back to this point, he said they're just trying to say that the Prophet did not know how to keep good company. And this is an indirect attack on the Prophet. So just keep those words in mind. And look at what Qurtubi said about what Imam Malik said. And Imam Malik said people who despise some of the companions, he said his personal thing was he felt they were just people concealing Kuffar. They were within Kuffar. That was what Imam Malik's fatwa was. Now look at Imam Qurtubi. He says, لَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ مَالِكْ فِي مَقَالَتِهِ. That wow, what a statement. Now check this out. Imam Ahmad, he said, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ رَجُلًا يَذْكُرُ أَحَدًا مِنَ الصَّحَابَ بِالسُّوءِ فَاتَّهِمْهُ عَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ. If you see anybody criticizing or mentioning any fault of any companion, he said, accuse, like, فَاتَّهِمْهُ, that you really be suspicious of his Islam. That was Imam Ahmad. Now, and there were other people. Now check this out. Imam Sarakhsi from the major Hanafiya, Man ta'ana fihim, whosoever attacks any of the Sahaba, fahuwa mulhid. He says he's somebody munabithun lil Islam. He's somebody as though he's left Islam. Right? Imam Awza'i says about he's speaking specifically about Abu Bakr. He says whoever does that, he felt that was they'd left Islam. Right? Abu Zur'a al-Razi, He says, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ الرَّجُلْ يَنْتَقِص, if you see somebody criticizing, taking faults of anyone, أَحَدًا مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ إِنَّهُ زِنْدِيقٌ, that is a person whose Islam cannot be trusted. Now, what does Abu Nu'aym say? فَلَا يَتَتَبَّعْ هَفَوَاتُ أَصْحَابِ رَسُولِ وَزَلَلِهِمْ, you do not follow the mistakes or the shortcomings of the companions. Now people, what does Qadi Iyad say? He quotes Imam Malik, مَنْ شَتَمَ أَحَدًا مِنْ أَصْحَابِ النَّبِي, whosoever insults any of the companions, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman. He mentions Muawiya, Ali, Amr. He says these people, he says that they are upon misguidance and it is haram what they have perpetrated. Right? Once again, Ibn Hazm, same thing. He says anybody who does that is a fasiq. Shawkani. Look at Shawkani, comes from a background which was a Zaydi background. His origin was not even Ahlus Sunnah. He says, وَجَانِبِ الصَّحْبَةِ Amrun Azim, that this being a Sahabi was a great matter. فَمَنْ انْتَهَكَ أَعْرَاضُ بَعْضِهِمْ, whoever tried to violate the honor of any of them, فَقَدْ وَقَعَ فِي هُوَّةٍ لَا يَنْجُ مِنْهَا سَالِمًا, he has fallen into an abyss that it is very difficult to be saved from. Right, so these things, people, it is important to remember, and I want this to be like a kind of an anchor point to come back to. Okay, so, and there was another interesting point as well, that we see Ahmad Ibn Hambal, he was asked, now this is interesting, he was asked, ما تقول في من قال لا أقول إن معاوية كاتب الوحي. This is Ahmad Ibn Hambal being asked, what do you say about somebody who says, I don't accept Muawiya to be the scribe of the Prophet? ولا أقول إنه خال المؤمنين. And somebody criticized me for saying that when I quoted Ibn Arabi's journal, his diary of saying when he went to Baghdad and he saw in the masjid Khalul Mu'min, the uncle of the believer. Ahmad Ibn Hanbal is asked this in the Sunnah of Khalal, in his book. What do you say about somebody who says, I don't consider Muawiya to be Khalul Mu'mineen, the uncle of the believers? He only took this matter by force. إِنَّهُ أَخَذَهُ بِالسَّيْفِ غَصْبًا. What does Ahmad say? He says, هَذَا قَوْلُ سُوءٍ رَدِيءٍ. Says, this is a horrid statement. Horrid, wretched statement. يُجَانَبُونَ هَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمِ. He says, you do not mix with such a people. وَلَا يُجَالَسُونَ. And he says, we do not sit and keep the company of such people. And once again, so this, look, why am I mentioning all these things? It's important that we understand this is the Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah. Now, I want to mention here, somebody had posted today saying, that, oh, it is the Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah that Muawiya was wrong. Do not be misguided by their words. I accept that many of Ahlus Sunnah said he was wrong, but read the full sentence. They said he was wrong in his ijtihad, but he was rewarded. See, what these people do is they're taking this word wrong and they're saying, oh, that means wrong, misguided, upon misguidance, heretic. Maybe, I read, you know what I read he may be going to the hellfire, he's Judas, traitor. It is haram. Qat'an. You know, people say Mufti doesn't call things haram. It is haram to be speaking about the companions, any companion of the Prophet like that. Okay? I clearly tell you, I've read all those things to you. So, when you ask me, and when people say, oh, but Ahlus Sunnah say Muawiya was wrong. Muawiya was wrong. According to many people, he was wrong. But he was wrong in his ijtihad. Not wrong as in a bad guy, a bad person, a villain. Not like that. That is haram to say that, okay? That is not the Aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah. It is important to remember that. Now I'd like to take some of these questions that were related to this, and then I'll move on to your questions, people. Now, first thing, are you saying that Ali and Muawiya are the same in status? Right. I have never said that Ali and Muawiya were the same in status. Ali radiallahu anhu, in terms of status, in terms of merit, is much greater than Muawiya radiallahu anhu. Muawiya too is a great companion, but Ali is amongst the greatest companions. Right? There's no doubt about that. I've never said, but the greatestness, like this amazing quality of Ali, does not detract from Muawiya being a great companion too. He was a great companion. He was not on the status of Ali. Muawiya himself, in a Sahih Hadith, when Abu Muslim al-Khawlani asks him that, هل أنت أفضل منه؟ هل أنت خير منه؟ هل أنت مثله? He says, لا, هو خير مني. He says, he's much better than me. Everybody knows that Ali radiallahu anhu was much greater than Muawiya radiallahu anhu. But that does not mean that because he was greater, Muawiya was a bad person. That does not follow. That logic does not follow. It is haram to do that, to pit them up against against each other. Okay, so let's clarify that. Secondly, I do believe that Ali radiallahu anhu was the most deserving of the Khilafa in his time. There were other great people as well, and there is, in history, they do say some people did prefer some of the Ashara al-Mubashara, they preferred Zubayr or Talha, but Ali definitely was, in my understanding, the most deserving in that time. Right? I do accept that. But what I was speaking about was the circumstances under which the bay'ah occurred. Okay, it comes back to this objectivity that people keep calling to. And we can't handle that. The truth is, this is why we don't discuss it. Because people just end up abusing each other. Right, okay. So let's take, so that, I just want to clarify that. I do believe that Sayyidina Ali was much more virtuous than Muawiya. But Muawiya was also a great companion. Right. Haqq is with Ali, so he's protected from mistakes. This statement is so misleading. First of all, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, in our Aqeedah, we do not believe in the infallibility of anybody beyond prophets. This is a demarcating point between us and the Shia. Okay, the Shia believe that Ali and the family of Ali and the Imams are infallible. They're incapable of making mistakes. We do not believe that. Ali is not infallible. Umar was not infallible. Right? Nobody was infallible beyond the prophets. Right? This is nonsense that trying to push this as Sunni Aqeedah. This is not Sunni Aqeedah. This is Shia Aqeedah. There's nothing. And some guy on my post wrote, oh no, I don't mean infallible. I mean, he was protected from making mistakes. I mean, do you understand English? Protected, infallible means protected from making mistakes. Right? So either learn English, right? The thing is, we do not believe that about anybody. This is one of the dividing points between Ahlus Sunnah and the Shia. Ahlus Sunnah never believe this. This is once again some of the Shia propaganda that has come into Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay? Now, right, didn't Muawiya try to claim Khilafa? This is nonsense. Look, people, I want to explain something. When we look at history, right, we have to understand that history has come to us through very murky transmissions. Right? Now, people who collated to history, let's take Imam Tabari as an example. In his own introduction, he tells you, he says, people, I have put anything and everything in this book. Anything that was transmitted to me. He says in his transmission, do not think this is my opinion. He says, innama, he says, this has come min naqilihi, from the people who transmitted it. He says it is up to you to verify its truth, that he presents it with a chain. Now there are certain transmitters who are utterly unreliable. Utterly. Okay. People like Abu Mikhnaf, his name was Lut ibn Yahya. Utterly unreliable. according to Ahlus Sunnah, he's matruk, rejected. He's somebody who they describe as Shi'i muhtariq. He was a Shia burnt out in his extremism. That's the wording they use for him. We do not accept him. Over 90% of all the hadith, the incidents of the Battle of Siffin between Muawiya and Ali, over 90% of them in the Tariq al-Tabari come through Abu Mikhnaf. He's not even reliable. He's far from reliable. Right? So people like Nasr ibn Muzahim, people like Ibn Sa'ib al-Kalbi, people like Waqidi, people like Saif ibn Umar, these people, you've got to be careful who you're taking history from. Zahid al-Kawthri, when he's asked about Tariq al-Tabari, he said, Qimatu Tariq al-Tabari, Qimatu Sanadi. He said that the value of the Tariq of Tabari is the value of its isnad, the chain of transmission. If the chain is good, it's good. The chain is bad, we reject it. Now look, sometimes history, it's okay. You know, sometimes you're just trying to get a picture. Like, I want to know, I wonder how the city of Medina was. I wonder how many markets were there. I wonder how many population was. And I'm reading history. Now the chains might not be all that, but I'm just trying to get a picture. It's no big deal. Water under a bridge, people. Water under a bridge. Or water off a duck's back. There's nothing to it. It's no big deal. You want to pass judgment on the best people of this ummah. You want to condemn them. Whoa! Do you have certain proof for what you're saying? Now it is a big deal. It's a very big deal. You can't just say, oh, it doesn't matter anymore. It does matter. Hell yeah, it matters. So you can't just take like people like Abu Mikhnaf and, you know, these kind of people, their riwayat, okay? And there's some things I want to highlight here. When I made last week's post, I had a huge backlash, and some of you may have followed it on my Facebook, and people, they were cursing on there, they were swearing to, insulting Zubayr, Talha, Aisha, the wife of the Prophet. One guy swore at her, said Allah insults her in the Quran. They insulted Muawiya. Then non-stop this was going on. Right? On my wall, this was going on. Now, we have to understand why have... this is important to reflect on. Why does this matter? Why have people been led to this? Now, there's a few reasons that I'd like us to grasp. One is we from the Indo-Pak world especially. A lot of our Islam comes to us and our language through Farsi influences. And through there is a lot of kind of Shia nuances within our culture that go unchallenged, by the way. So things like, let me give you an example. Like people saying, Ya Ali Madad. Ya Ali Madad. Now, this is not an issue of, by the way, istighatha and tawassul. This is an issue of Ya Ali Madad. You will never see the statement Ya Umar Madad. You'll never see that. Ya Abu Bakr Madad. You'll never see that. Ya Ali Madad. Why? Shia influences. You'll see things like certain contexts, like certain words have been popularized. Okay. Panch Tan Pak, the 5 pure souls, referring to Ali and his family and the Prophet ﷺ, and these people are infallible. Once again, a Shia concept. We believe them to be amazing people, but we don't believe them to be protected from mistakes and error. They're human beings. Best of human beings, but human beings. What did Tahawi say? La nufrit fi hubbi ahadim. We do not excessively love one over the other companions. Right, so this, once again, a Shia influence. Right, you'll see things like, let's take another example of a Shia influence. Look, Sayyidina Ali is an amazing individual, but amazing personality within Islam, one of the greatest, but when we use terms, look, in Arabic, Asadullah, the lion of Allah, who does this refer to in the Arabic literature? It refers to Hamza. Who does it refer to in our culture? Sher-e-Khuda, it refers to Ali. Right? Once again, I'm not saying he was a brave individual. But why did we even have this title like this straight away in Urdu? Comes from the Shia nuances. Okay, so we already have a certain amount, like people refer to Ali as Mawla Ali. I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but that kind of style came to us through the Shia culture. I'm not saying by saying Mawla Ali you've become a Shia, but I'm just showing how it's come in, these nuances. Okay, so people have this whole, and they say Al-Haq ma'a Ali, Ali ma'a Al-Haq, that the truth is with Ali. You know, Haq Mawla, Haq Ali, Haq, you know, they use these kind of words. Like Ali, like the Qawali, Damadam Mast Qalandar. Ali da pehla number. Right? Ali that pehla number in what? Ali's first number in what? In the Khilafa. They're saying he deserved it better than Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman. This is part of the Indo-Pak culture. They've got these kind of Shia nuances without even knowing about them. That's one issue. The other issue, and this is an important one, why do people feel the need to criticize, to do these things, find faults? People struggle with ambiguity. And this is a very important point, people. I want you to focus on this. People think that over the time, Islam is awesome, but over the time, why did it get messed up? Why? Why were all these things? Why is Islam like, why did it get so messed up? So their answer to this is, it got messed up because there were these villains and these bad guys who got the upper hand and oppressed the good guys. And this happened right throughout history. They oppressed the good guys. So in their mind, they can only handle good guy, bad guy scenarios. They can't handle ambiguity. To them, there has to be a bad guy in history. So I know Muawiya was the bad guy. Bani Umayyah were the bad guys. And the good guys were all these great, the family of the Prophet, and they were the good guys. And Islam would have been totally awesome if it wasn't for these bad guys. People, this romanticized, very fictitious kind of dramatized version is not reality. This is not how the world was. There's good and bad everywhere. Right? But this makes people digest things because they can't cope with why Islam suffered. Why things happen. So they need an explanation. So psychologically, it makes sense for them that, there was a bad guy. And there was a good guy. And the good guy suffered. And the bad guy, look, today Muslims are still suffering. See, Islam always suffers. The good guys, the bad guys. This scenario is because people can't handle ambiguity. But they need to handle ambiguity. Right? So this is another important, significant point. Okay? On why a lot of people think it's important to find faults with the companions. The other thing I want to get at, and this is a really important as well question which I'm putting out there. And there is a bit of seriousness to this. I mean, there's seriousness to all of this, but especially. What is your end game? What is your end game? Just tell me what your end game is. Where do you want to go with this? Let's say for a moment I accept. Let's say we accept it. Hypothetically, let's accept it. Muawiya was a villain. He was a villain. Okay, he was a villain. Zubayr, Talha, they were rebels. Zubayr died as a rebel. They died at Allah. We're not sure whether Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, was a terrible person for fighting Ali. Do you know, they don't stop here. Read the same riwayat. Do you know what they say about Muawiya? I'm sorry, young people, parental advisory. Right, so you might want to, if there's any young people watching this, they might want to skip the next few minutes. They say Muawiya's mother, this is in the same, those historians transmitting this. Muawiya's mother was the most well-known whore and prostitute of Mecca. This is what they say. Hind was the biggest whore of Mecca. This is what they say about her. Right? Okay, let's accept it. They say the wife of the Prophet, Habiba, Muawiya's sister, was the daughter of the biggest whore and prostitute of Mecca. Okay, let's accept. Okay, this is what they say. Ibn Sa'ib al-Kalbi is transmitting this. Right? So okay, let's accept it. They say Amr ibn al-As, who Wallahi, the Prophet ﷺ said about him, he said, Aslam an-nas, Aslam, people have entered Islam. They have embraced. Wa amana Amr ibn al-As. Amr ibn al-As entered faith. What do they say about him? They say his mother was the cheapest whore of Mecca. She was the cheapest whore and cheapest prostitute of Mecca. They say this. This is in the book. Google it. It'll come right up. Okay, let's accept it. Is this what you want from us to accept this? Accept it. Go on, accept it. Right? We accept all these people were totally messed up. Hypothetically, let's accept it. What's your end game? What do you want to do now? What do you want to do with this? So Zubayr and people so close to the Prophet were messed up, and Talha was messed up, and Abdullah ibn Zubayr was messed up, and Muawiya was messed up, and who fought with Muawiya, by the way? Ali's brother Aqil fought with him against Ali. Aqil was messed up, and Khalid bin Walid's son fought, Abdurrahman fought with Muawiya against Ali. He was totally messed up. Deviants. The son of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Ubayd, fought and died with Muawiya against deviants, misguided idiots. This is what is this the end? Okay, let's accept this. Let's accept this. Hypothetically, we accept it. Right? All these people, deviants, idiots, pathetic, stupid, right? Wrong, villains, Judas, traitors, right? The sons of whores and everything. Why? Let's accept it. Now what? What now? What do you want us to do now? What shall I do now? What shall I do? The only thing that follows from that is, saying, okay, the Prophet surely, the Prophet didn't make a good choice in keeping good companions, did he? I mean, this is what Imam Malik said. He said, what's the end game? Because this just means the Prophet made a bad choice in who he kept as companions. This is what it means. Like, think about it. If I have companions now, my friends, and then somebody says to me, you know what? His friend, that guy's just a con, that guy's a thief, that guy's a cheater, that guy's a murderer, that guy's a this, that guy's a... What does that say about me? What does that say about me? People say that, not people, we believe that the Prophet ﷺ was the most wise. The most wise. And the Prophet obviously had, according to this, had idiots around him. Had con artists around him, had murderers around him, had rebels around him, had idiots around him, had his wives. They were, this is what it leads to. Okay, now what? Now we accept all of this and we accept the Prophet then had these people as his companions. Now what? What shall I do now? What shall I do? Where do I go with this? Okay, I've got it. Now? Well, Islam sounds pretty pathetic to me now. Islam came through this Prophet. You're saying all the people he kept close to him turn out to be really wretched, right? They're the people who transmitted this deen. I find, how worthy is Islam? Does it make any sense to you? Do you want to follow a faith? How much trust do you have in it now? Right, so people say, I want to bring my children up on knowing the truth. I want to teach them the hatred of Muawiya and the companions. And what kind of nonsense? You want to bring children up on hatred of historical figures? Look at Ayatollah Khamenei, not Khomeini, Khamenei. Look at Ayatollah al-Khamenei. Read his fatwa after Yasir al-Habib, who came to London, and he did that thing, it's on YouTube, I don't want to repeat how he was insulting the wives of the Prophet. What does Ayatollah Khamenei say? He said it's haram, what he did. Haram. This is Ayatollah Khamenei. He said it is haram to insult Rumuz Ahlus Sunnah, to insult the symbols of Ahlus Sunnah, to insult Zawjatun Nabi. He said, why? He said, because it leads to hatred and bloodshed. It leads to disunity and discord in this ummah. That was Ayatollah Khamenei. He's a Shia. I disagree with his Shia point, but hats off to him. I salute him for that. My issue is not with the Shia. Look, yes, I disagree clearly with the Shia. I'm not saying that. But the Shia are at least clear on what they believe. They say, okay, we disbelieve in these things. The problem we've got here are people are trying to spread this hatred under the cloak of Sunni Islam. This is why it's unsettling people. It's hurting people. Because look, let me get this right. Look, let's say, and I'm not trying to pick on groups here, but I'm giving this as an example because it's a reality. Let's say you're a Hanafi. Many of you are. Now, why do people have issues with some of the Salafis? The Salafis come to the Hanafis and they will say, oh, you know, if you were following Imam Abu Hanifa truly, then you wouldn't follow a madhab. So you're not following Imam Abu Hanifa. I'm actually following Imam Abu Hanifa. Now that, it's agitating. Because you're telling the person that their narrative is wrong. Look, you see, whereas if the Salafi just came and said, look, I don't follow madhabs. You follow madhabs. I disagree with you, you disagree with me. Now they're not going to discuss that with each other. They know where their boundaries are. But the moment the Salafi says to the Hanafi, oh, you're actually wrong in your claim that you follow Abu Hanifa. Because Abu Hanifa would actually say you shouldn't follow a madhab. Now that is unnerving, that's unsettling, that's agitating, that's irritating. It's going to cause friction. You see, when you do things like that, it causes a problem. So when people come to Sunnis and say, you're not really being a Sunni. To really be a Sunni is to hate Muawiya. Or this is Sunni Islam. It's not Sunni Islam. That's Shia Islam. Now, I haven't got a problem with you being a Shia, but be honest. I totally, hats off, seriously, name the brother, Kaleem Sharma Qadri from Canada. I believe he's from Canada. This brother, I clearly know where he stands on these issues. I knew that, look, I've liked the brother before, he's liked me before, but on these issues, we do not see eye to eye, right? On this issue of Muawiya and so on. But the person said, look, at the end of the day, Mufti Abu Layth is just saying what Imam Malik and what Ahlus Sunnah position. Now, why are you trying to impose what is in essence a Shia position on Ahlus Sunnah? Why don't you just be honest? That, look, we hold a Shia position. Nobody has a problem with that. Look, be transparent. When there's clarity, we won't get into arguments, because I know your view towards, in Shia Islam, they believe people are infallible. In Shia Islam, they believe, and Shia, yes, they disagree amongst themselves as well, as do Ahlus Sunnah. So some of them do not curse any of the companions, like I quoted Ayatollah Khamenei. Like, some of them do not curse them, but they prefer Ali, and they have issues with Muawiya. But we are not going to discuss that now, because I understand that they have a different viewpoint. But when somebody starts saying, hey, I'm teaching Sunni Islam, but then starts teaching Shia Islam, it irritates people. Because you're lying. It's not true. All of these people I quoted, they said, just because you say Muawiya was wrong, he was wrong in his ijtihad. It's haram to mention mistakes about blemishes about him. So be honest. Don't try to forge this diversity. There isn't this diversity. What you're trying to do is create a hybridization between the two. They're too stark. Look, so it is not, and I said in my last show, I was asked, I said, I do not believe, people ask me, do you believe Shia Kuffar? I said, I do not believe the Shia Kuffar. I do not believe. I do have strong issues with several of their beliefs, and some more than others with certain people. I condemn abuse. But I do not blanketly call people kuffar. I don't like doing that anyway. So the thing is, it's not about, look, if you have a stance, take it. Just be brave, just be honest. Don't kind of like cloak and hide yourself under the blanket of Ahlus Sunnah when it's not part of Ahlus Sunnah. Right, so okay. People, now coming back to this. Right now, you said, right, okay, I answered this question about Ali seeking power. Was that an insult towards Ali? It's not an insult. It was Imam Malik being objective. But the problem is people can't handle objectivity. That's why we go back to the Aqeedah. We don't discuss things. We do not find. But like I said, seeking governance, seeking rulership, if you are the most deserving for it, is a good thing. Right? You might see it as insulting. I see it as a merit. If I'm most, if there's a job here and I'm the best person for it, I should think, hey, I'm the best person for it. There's nothing, and Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, the Prophet, does that in the Quran. Right, okay. You say on one hand, don't insult Sahaba, then you apply Ali was responsible for the problems in history. I do not imply Ali was responsible for the problems in history, radiallahu anh. Okay, do not, this is a lie. What I said was that, look, what I was trying to do was show objectivity. I was trying to show that, look from Muawiya's viewpoint. Look from their viewpoint. Because if you're going to be objective, you have to be objective towards everybody. You can't just be objective. Muawiya's viewpoint, there is a Sahih chain where Abu Muslim al-Khawlani comes to Muawiyah and he says, do you, أَتُنَازِعُهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, are you trying to say you should be Khalifa? He says, no. He says, are you trying to say you're better than him? He says, no. He says, he's better than me, وَخَيْرٌ مِنْهُ. He says, then what's the problem? This is a Sahih hadith. Muawiya says, tell him to hand over the qatla to Uthman, the murderers of Uthman. We have no problem. It is undisputed that people like Malik al-Ashtar were in the armies of Ali ibn Abi Talib. That is undisputed. When the insurgency happened, there were about 2,000 to 3,000 people who rose up. It was difficult to tell who was who. But there were chiefs. And there were certain known chiefs. So they say there were about approximately 200 chiefs who had a few hundred under them, like 100, 200 under them. And one of the key chiefs was Malik al-Ashtar. Why was he so well known? He was one of the most fearsome warriors, feared warriors throughout the Arab world at the time. Okay? Everybody knew and had heard of Malik al-Ashtar. He was totally feared. So people knew about him. In fact, that's one of the reasons that Ali says that he kept him, because he was resourceful. But he was amongst the conspirators, the chief conspirators towards of the murder of Uthman. Now you can say, well, why did Ali radiallahu anhu keep him? Because Ali radiallahu anhu felt that it was more important to stabilize the matter first, then retaliate. Muawiya felt that no, he was related to Uthman. He was his blood. He felt, no, retaliation first, then we stabilize the matter. This is where the ijtihad occurred. Okay, so it's important to remember these things, okay? Now, okay, so I did not, okay, so just to clarify, Ali, I'm not saying he was responsible for the problem. They had a viewpoint. My personal, look, I want to clarify something. There were Ahlus Sunnah. I highlighted our Aqeedah towards the disputes of the Sahaba. Ahlus Sunnah generally believe, as I said, that the differences between the Sahaba were based on Ijtihad. That's what they believe. Now, some Ahlus Sunnah believe in Ijtihad. People are always correct. There is never a wrong person. Those people here believe both were correct. Most people believe that there's always one correct and one incorrect, but both are rewarded. So here, most of them will believe Ali was correct, right? Now, obviously, there were others in the time of the Sahaba who fought with Muawiya who thought he was correct. So that has existed. Then there is a third position, and this Ahmad Ibn Hambal transmits, Abu Aliya transmits, other people transmit that there were over 10,000 Sahaba from the early times, 10,000 Sahaba alive, key Sahaba. And Abu Aliya says only 4 or 7 of them attended this whole battle together. Ahmad ibn Hanbal transmits that there were barely 30. He says 30. It's a minute number. The majority, he says, is hardly 100, rather not even 30. That was his wording. Now, out of 10,000, right, the majority, almost 99% of them, do not attend this battle. They do not get involved. Right? Key Sahaba, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, Abdullah ibn Umar, Usama ibn Zayd. You know, the key warrior, Usama ibn Zayd, is transmitted in the Sahih. It's in Bukhari. It's in Bukhari. He tells Ali radiallahu anh, Ali asks him, join me. He says to Ali, Wallahi, if you were to jump into a lion's den, I would jump in with you. This is in Bukhari. He says, I would jump into a lion's den with you. He says, but this fight against Muslims, never. And he leaves him. That was Usama ibn Zayd. He said it was haram to sell weapons to both sides. Imran ibn Hussein, who the Tabi'een say there was never a companion better than him in Basra. He He says it was haram to sell weapons to either side. He's not involved. Many Sahaba, Anas ibn Malik, not involved. Mughira ibn Shu'bah, not involved. Many Sahaba did not get involved. They were conscientious objectors. They felt war is always a tragedy. Myself, I am with them. I believe that in this matter, generally, when it comes to Khilafa, I'm very clear. Ali was the most deserving for Khilafa. When it came to the decision of war, the decision to fight, I believe that war was always a tragedy. And I'm with the conscientious objectors. You cannot bully me into saying I have to pick sides. Why do I have to pick sides? I'm not a kid. This isn't a playground. But we weren't there when they were fighting. War is a tragedy. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu an, in a Sahih chain, he himself says at the end, check this out, at the end of the Battle of Jamal, wallah, in a Sahih chain, when he saw Talha on the, who was Talha? Who was Talha? In the Battle of Uhud, when the heat really kicked in and the companions ran and they left the Prophet exposed, the few that came, Talha was amongst them. He defended the Prophet. His hand was injured and paralyzed as a consequence. He was murdered in that Battle of Jamal. When Ali came across him, he said, Wallahi, innahu la ya'izzu alayya. It is so difficult for me to see you, an araka majdulan tahta nujum as-sama. That I see you here today, murdered under this sky. He cried. This was Ali. He wasn't proud of that decision. After Siffin, they say anything between 30 to 60,000 Sahaba were murdered. Ali cried, radiyallahu an, and he said, Wallahi wadidtu ya laytani mittu qabla hadha bi 20 ama. He said, I wish I had died 20 years before this day. Hasan, his own son, said to him, and this, you can look this up. He said, Kuntu nahaytuka an hadha. He said to his father, he said, Hasan was always against the war. Hasan, his own son, he stood with his father through thick and thin, but he was against the war. He even went to war with him, but he was against it. He says to him, Kuntu nahaytu, he says to his father, I told you, don't take the armies to Sham, don't. He says, Wallahi, Ali says, Ma kuntu adhun anna al-amr sayablughu ila hadha. And he says, Wallahi, I did not think the matter would reach this. What does Ali himself say about those who stayed away from the fight? He says about them, he said, Wallahi, he said, if they got this right, what an amazing, what an incredible decision they took. Those who abstained, the conscientious objectors, he said, what an amazing decision they took. And he said, and if they got it wrong, what a light mistake compared to if we got it wrong. These were the words of Ali radiallahu anh. So, when it came to war, war was just a tragedy. It was a tragedy, even when the Battle of Siffin comes to an end. Why? Because when Muawiya, when they write to each other, they say, Wallahi, if we're going to fight tomorrow, there's going to be nobody left of this ummah. The Roman Empire will just, and this was their words, they will just sweep right through the Muslims, because there's nobody left. They lost almost 60,000 people. The battle was so intense. And when Ali was asked, oh, are they in those who died? He said, qatlahum wa qatlana fil jannah. He said, they are all in paradise. Innama hum ikhwanuna. They are our brothers. Baghaw alayna. They've risen up against us, but they are our brothers. So, nonsense, seriously, wallahi, this is why it's so important to just go back and just refrain. Just leave it. What is the end game? Where are we trying to go with this? This thing, look, if this question, if Muawiya was a Baghi, then what's the problem in mentioning his mistakes? Baghi means rebel. If you say he was a rebel, he rose up against, he was a rebel in what matter? In the matter of qisas, should we retaliate first or should we stabilize first? His ijtihad was retaliation was more important. He was related to Uthman. That was his personal decision. We have no haqq in bringing his faults. That's what the Aqeedah said, if you go back to the anchor point. Didn't Muawiya curse Ali? Of course he didn't curse. Bring me a Sahih chain that he cursed Ali. Now there's a hadith in Sahih Muslim that he asks Sa'd, Ma mana'aka an tasubba Aba Turab? What prevented you? What does Imam Nawawi say? What does Imam Qurtubi say? They say, there's no dalil in this that he's telling him to curse him. He's curious. He's asking, what prevented you? I'm interested because this is way after the war. He says, was it because of respect? Was it because of fear? Was it because of piety? Was it because of your allegiance? What how come you weren't involved in this stuff? And then he says that because Ali was an amazing individual and he had 3 qualities. If I had one of them, I would be over the moon, in other words. Did Muawiya poison Hasan? This is ridiculous. Why would Muawiya poison Hasan? Bring me a Sahih chain. This is another thing. During the actual battle, it is not transmitted through any valid chain that Muawiya cursed Ali. Not through any Sahih chain that we accept. Not Abu Mikhnaf and these people. And by the way, Abu Mikhnaf transmits in Tabari that Ali was cursing Muawiya. He used to curse him, Allahumma la'anhu, Allahumma. But we don't accept Abu Mikhnaf's riwayah. We don't accept it because we know Ali was above that. So if he wasn't going to curse him when he's fighting him, why is he going to curse him afterwards? So, and this poison Hasan was all along, he was anti-war. Even though he does stand side to side with his father, but he was always, his heart was never in it. He was against, because war is a tragedy. He makes peace and wants Muawiya to become the leader, to have peace. This is after Ali has passed away. Why would, after 10 years of that, Muawiya decide to poison him all of a sudden? What nonsense is that? Right. Bukhari says, Dhikr Muawiya. Bukhari in his book, when he's speaking about the virtues of the Sahaba, Kitab Manaqib al-Sahaba, the virtues of Sahaba, he mentions Dhikr, the mention of Muawiya. Now, why didn't he say the word Manaqib, the virtues of Muawiya? Well, first of all, read Bukhari. He uses that for several Sahaba. He says Dhikr Ibn Abbas. And the other thing is, in another section, he quotes Ibn Abbas being asked about Muawiya. Ibn Abi Mulaika, he transmits from Ibn Abbas that, oh, Muawiya used to only pray 1 witr, not 3. And what does Ibn Abbas say? Innahu la faqih. Innahu faqih. He says he is a faqih. He is a man of fiqh. He is a great scholar. Leave him alone. This is Ibn Abbas praising him. So, right. Didn't Muawiya fabricate hadith? This is, once again, which hadith has he fabricated? Bring them to us. Right. Ibn al-Wazir al-Yamani has gone through all the hadith. There's something like apparently 136 or 130 something hadith transmitted by Muawiya. He not only demonstrated they were sahih, he brought the same content through a different companion. And then he didn't even stop there. Those which had rulings, he showed the same rulings existed in the Shia tradition. So it couldn't be made up. What hadith? Bring these hadith. You see, one thing the companions did not do, yes, they fought, but they didn't make it about religion. Right? So let's not us force religion into it. Right. How about the mistakes of Muawiya making regarding his son? Look, listen, people. If you're going to ask me as a person to be objective, right? I personally, our Aqeedah is as I said. But if you're asking me, look, be academic, be objective, okay, I'll be objective. If you're asking me about Muawiya and pledging allegiance for his son Yazid, I personally believe that was a mistake. I do believe that was a mistake. And I believe that was a wrong, like it was a wrong way. I don't believe he had any bad intentions, and there was no way Muawiya could know the future. But Muawiya explains it. He says, if I give it to somebody else, there's going to be fighting again. But Yazid, he was a tragedy. He is, as Dhahabi says, he says, what can we say about somebody whose reign begins with Karbala and ends with, Waqat al-Harra, the attack on Medina, the sacred city of the Prophet. And I condemn those actions. And the thing is this, look, I don't believe those actions made him a kafir. I don't believe that he was a kafir. I believe he was a Muslim. I believe he's answerable to Allah. I believe, as people said, tilka ummatun qad khalat, that is a ummah that has gone, laha ma kasabat wa alayha ma iktasabat. They have earned good and bad, and they're answerable to Allah. I don't have to answer for them. Yes, Muawiya took the Pledge of Allegiance for him, but Muawiya couldn't have known. But yes, that was a mistake. I accept that. Look, I'm being on. Look, if you're asking me what is my personal opinion, I do believe that's my personal opinion. I believe that was a mistake. I wish he hadn't done that. But I can't undo history. Right? But look, if you're going to be objective, if this is to be objective, you could see, this is the thing, people only want to be objective about Muawiya. But if you're going to be objective about Sayyidina Ali and be honest and say, look, him allowing people like Malik al-Ashtar to remain in his army, well, that too, you would say was an ijtihadi. You wouldn't see as correct from an ijtihad perspective. But my point is that, look, this is why we go back to the anchor point of Aqeedah. Let's not take faults out. Let's not do that, because once we start doing that, we get too emotional. People get too emotional. They can't control things. Right? So, but your point, if you just want my opinion, I've given you my opinion about Yazid. But I do not call him a kafir. I reject that we call him a kafir. I do not like this kind of attitude at all at declaring people kuffar. But I do say that there were major tragedies, and I also say that there was no way Muawiya could have predicted this, would have known that this would have happened, but he gave his reasons. But I wish, anybody but Yazid, I wish he gave it to Abdullah ibn Zubayr, or he gave it to, he gave it to Hussein, or he gave it to somebody, Ibn Abbas, or he gave it to Ibn Umar, or he gave it to, it doesn't have to be the family of the Prophet, it doesn't have to, it could have been anybody who was great. But obviously what's happened has happened, but what's the end game? What do you want us to do now? What do you want, do I just sit here now and just cry over this? What's the end game? So this is my purpose, okay? This is my point of why Imam Malik was asking, what's the end game? Right? Can there be Shia-Sunni unity? You see, look, this is an interesting question. Yes, they can. There can be unity. There's not unity at a greater perspective. Look, the truth is, we are all Muslim, okay? We disagree on these things. My point here was, these people, why it's irritating is because they're trying to distort Sunni Islam. So it's making people uncomfortable. Like I said, if somebody's a Hanafi or a Maliki or a Shafi'i, and I come to you and I say, well, you're not really a Shafi'i. If you're a Shafi'i, you'd be a Salafi. It's going to irritate you. But if I came to you and said, hey, I'm a Salafi, and you're a Shafi'i, okay, fine, you're a Shafi'i, I disagree with you, I'm a Salafi, you disagree. Now we're not going to discuss those things. So clarity does help. It helps towards unity. So if people stop trying to pretend this was Sunni Aqeedah, this is Shia Aqeedah. Now, Shia have it. The other thing is, look, as Ayatollah Khamenei and other people have said, look, don't abuse, that's all. Because people who we hold dear, they're dear to us. People said to me, Mufti, why have you blocked us? Look, my loyalty to the Sahaba is much greater than some kind of Facebook friendship. I don't even know you. You're coming on my thing. I made a request. Look, please don't spread nonsense here. You're spreading things, cursing companions, questioning the qualities of companions. My loyalty to them is much greater than any kind of Facebook bloody loyalty to you. I will block you in a flash. I wouldn't even think twice about it. But look, I want to make this clear to people who have been blocked. I know people did ask. Boy. But if you are clear on your stance, don't try to distort Ahlus Sunnah. I quoted the Ahlus Sunnah Aqeedah. Look, just be real. This is why I genuinely, really respected, wallahi, I genuinely respected what that brother Kaleem had said. It touched my heart, actually. He said, look, let's just be honest. He said, our beliefs are Sufi Shia, more towards that than they are towards Sunni. I mean, what's the big deal? He said, I don't curse any of the companions. Wallahi, I said to him, I said, look, you prefer Ali over them, right? You don't curse. We don't have a problem. Like, you understand, okay, in your heart, there is this history of Bani Umayyah and this history of Muawiya, whatever, but you don't bring it up. You don't bring it up in general. You don't toy with the emotions of people. I love you for that, man. That. Look, you've got a stance, but you're respecting people. And I respect you. And this is, just be genuine. And if people can be genuine, if you think I've blocked you, and you can be genuine, you're not going to come on like my page, or you're not going, you're not doing this propaganda to attack. Some guys, they're making posts saying, oh, people try and defend Muawiya. All you should really be saying is, Ya Ali Madad, Ya Ali Madad. And then on their thread, they were friends with me. I click on it, and all this abuse towards Muawiya, and they're liking it, and then they're commenting on my wall, and I warn them, look, please refrain, or I'm going to block you. And then they do it again, and I block them, and then they get all upset. Look, so I don't have time to answer everybody. Like 50, 60 people on my post. Commenting. As much as you might not believe it, I have a life as well. So I get irritated. It hurts me. It does hurt me. These people are important to me. If you're insulting my mum and dad, I would be affected. These people, they like my symbols of Ahlus Sunnah to me, the symbols of the companions of the Prophet. You're insulting them. And you're telling me your religion teaches you, and then on top you're telling me my religion teaches you that, my version of Islam, Sunnism, teaches you that, and I'm supposed to be believing that. And then you're saying, hey, why are you getting worked up? Of course I'm going to block you. But look, if you can be genuine, and you feel, look, okay, you can respect that, and you're not going to try to distort, then look, what you can do is contact Muhammad Shaban. You've seen him on my Facebook. Tell him, and I will unblock you, and I will add you back. Okay, I've got no qualms. Right, but just please don't expect me, like, when people are, so many people attacking, they were attacking me on my thing, left, right, and center, and I'm doing my normal stuff. I might be at the gym working out, and bloody others, like 10 people, they like jump, and I can't take that because other people are getting misguided. They're reading, their people are quoting, and look, and some of you were quoting Dr. Adnan Ibrahim. I'll be honest with you, look, I respect the man. He's somebody who calls towards rationale and towards reason. And that's something I call towards. I call towards the voice of reason. But let's be honest. In hadith, the man is not strong in hadith. And you can go to YouTube. I actually wanted to play it, but it's been too long today. I want to play his clip. He quotes a hadith, and he says, and with so much confidence, and there's a breakdown analysis of the exact book and page and hadith that he quotes. He says, look at this hadith. Sahih al-Isnad. Isnadu Sahih. He says the chain is Sahih. You could check it. Pure confidence. Check it in the books of Jarh. Here was Amr ibn As, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As sitting there. The Prophet said, oh, the person that will come out from that room now will die upon other than Islam. And he says, and then who comes out? Muawiya. Ya salam. And then there's a step-by-step breakdown by he's a Salafi scholar. He breaks it down, and he the same book, same page, and he's holding the book as well. He shows it, he reads it, he goes through a chain. Weak narrators. Why are you lying to people? Why are you just showing this? Just be honest. Look, and I want to say something here. One other reason why I feel some people have taken this stance. In psychology, it's what we call transference, okay? When you transfer something onto something. Look, a lot of people who call to voice and reason, right? Call to the voice of reason, or call to things, they have, and a lot of the Sufi orders and things like this, they have a huge animosity with the Salafis. And look, I can be with you. on so many issues, I've passionately disagreed with the Salafis. I sometimes can't stand the way they, and I've described it as kind of theologically autistic, the way they see the world as black and white. And so what happens is sometimes anything that they're doing, you end up opposing it. So a good example is like the 3 talaqs. The 3 talaq issue is just a fiqh issue which just got taken out of, like now Ahlus Sunnah are so against it, right? People are so against it, the fiqh madhabs. Why? Every one of the 4 madhabs had people who said it. Why now? Because the Salafiyah monopolized on it and championed it. So now it's become, so you've walked into a theological turf war. Like you don't know, you think you're asking about talaq. But what you don't know is there's a whole bloody sectarian battle going on. So you go to the masjid, people go, zina, it's haram. So much sentiment. Why? Is it because of the fiqh? But it's mainly because of their hatred of the Wahhabis and the Salafiyah. So they're transferring that energy onto the emotion, onto this mas'ala. It's the same thing now, because the Salafiyah have stood up passionately in defense of Muawiya. Some people who can't stand the Salafiyah, right, what they've done is taken an opposing stance. People, Allah says in the Quran, لا يجرمنكم شنعان قوم على لا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. When you have animosity with people, do not let it prevent you from being just. Credit where credit is due. I disagree with the Salafiyah passionately on things, on Aqeedah, on all this. I even mock things at times. I get into trouble for, people all have a go at me. But let's credit where credit is due. Defending the honor of a companion. That it doesn't mean just because they're wrong in certain things, they have to be wrong in every single thing. They say Allah is one. That doesn't mean they're wrong in that. So, look, sometimes this has also led to this animosity against the, and also, like I said earlier on, the fact of there having to be like some villain in history, which leads to why Islam has messed up. But I do believe there can be Sunni Shia unity, especially if there's clarity and there's no abuse. There can be, okay. Hadith Taqalayn. This is interesting because look, I've been asked about this hadith of the Prophet saying, I leave my family and I leave the Quran, but Imam Malik transmitted it as I leave the Quran and my Sunnah. You have to understand, people who keep saying Ali is with the Haqq and the Haqq is with Ali, I ask them, look, where is the fiqh of the family of the Prophet? If we're supposed to be, in Ahlus Sunnah, the family of the Prophet, we love and respect them, but they don't hold a centrality within Ahlus Sunnah. They're not like, where is Islam being transmitted from them? Show me in your books of fiqh. People say the Haqq is always with Ali. Then why don't you follow him in fiqh? Why is your madhab not based on Ali? You follow the madhab of Abu Hanifa or Shafi'i or Malik. Imam Malik's madhab is mainly based on Umar and Ibn Umar. Sayyidina Ali, let's say if you're Hanafi, Sayyidina Ali used to say you could combine between prayers. Do you combine between prayers? You don't follow Sayyidina Haqq is with Ali. Ali said, oh, you wipe over the top of the socks. The Maliki wipe under the bottom of the socks. They don't say the Haqq is with Ali on that mas'ala. You see, this Haqq with Ali had a context to it. It didn't mean every single decision in life had to be divine. Otherwise, everybody would just be following the fiqh of Sayyidina Ali, but they don't. Even in his time, people had disagreements with him over fiqh issues. It's known. In fact, I've got the encyclopedia. I've got an encyclopedia right here for the fiqh of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anh. People don't follow it. Amongst his rulings, he was very harsh against apostates. Very harsh about burning them. People strongly, would you agree with that today? Would you agree with it? Homosexuals, about burning them. Would you agree with that? So the truth is, look, this Haqq Ali is just a distortion. It's like a Shia extremism. And let's go back to what Tahawi and the Sunni Aqeedah. La nufritu fi ahad. We do not excessively focus on one. We love them all. Right? We do not become extreme in our love, because as the Arabic proverb says, hubbuka shay yu'mi wa yusim. When you love something excessively, it blinds you. And it deafens you from seeing certain things. Right? Right, so and this last question about Bani Umayyah being oppressive. Look, the thing is, look, I'm not here to defend history, right? As my right hand is a reverse camera in case you're going to start that nonsense. I'm not here to defend Bani Umayyah, right? But the point is, look, they were good and bad everywhere. There isn't this history. Okay, let's look. Sorry to disappoint people. This is what, you know what Imam Zayd Shakir says, if you're going to talk about history, you have to take your Iman vitamins. You're going to have to take some quickly, stead up, juice up on those Iman vitamins. Because I'm going to just in just a few seconds run you through some history. Yes, but during Muawiya's time, there was stability. For 20 years, he ruled as a Khalifa, or as a, if you want to say a king, then many, Dhahabi, all these people say he was the best king in Islam. That's what they say. Khayru malikin fil Islam. Right? Now, there was stability when he ruled. But after him, I'm not defending all of Bani Umayyah. There were some people who were great people. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Other people did some good things, some bad things. But who else? Let's be real. In 131 Hijri, Bani Umayyah come to an end. Who do they come to an end by? The Shia. Is it not the Shia? The Shia was a political movement first. Who were Bani al-Abbas? Who were the Abbasids? The Abbasids were the Khurasani Shia, because they were the children of Abbas, who was through Bani Hashim. They were the Shia to Ali. Abbas, Ibn Abbas, they were with Ali. This was the Shia to Ali. They killed the Umayyads and get control. 131, 132 Hijri, they are in. What does Safa, who is from the great grandsons of Abdullah ibn Abbas, what does he do when he comes in? Massacres thousands of people. Who, tell me, what do they then start doing? They then start persecuting the Alawiyin and the Fatimiyin. They are Shia to Ali, and then they turn against those who were closer, because they might have a closer claim to the kingdom. So they start persecuting the Fatimiyin, because they think, you know what, we've got control. Now we got this on the back of this Shia claim, but now Shia being the political Shia, as in the Shia of Ali against the Umayyads, but now these guys are closer to Ali than us, so let's kill them off first. This Abbasids, who kills Abu Hanifa, who poisons him in prison? The Abbasids. Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, who has Muawiya whipped? The Abbasids. Who has, Muawiya, Imam Malik, who has Imam Malik whipped? The Abbasids. Who has Ahmad Ibn Hambal beaten? The Abbasids. Right, so what greater good did they do than the Umayyads? And history was documented in their time. Up until 131 Hijri, where are the books of history? They were documented in the Abbasids' times. Who were from the Shia. Okay, let's get closer still. What about when the actual descendants of Fatima, the Fatimiyin, established their kingdom in Egypt? Al-Mu'izz and all these people. And their scholars, Qadi Nu'man, and they have instate the Ubaydiyin over North Africa. What do they? Torture people. There's reports Qadi Iyad brings in Tartib, skinned people alive of Ahlus Sunnah. Where was this? Oh, the Fatimiyin were just as terrible. Tell me, who was so good throughout Islamic history? So, if you're going to say, yeah, but the Abbasids had some goodness to them, they did. Of course they did. Everybody had some goodness. Harun al-Rashid did some amazing things. But tell me, did not the Umayyads of Al-Andalus do great things? Abdurrahman al-Nasir became, in his time, the most established and powerful Muslim kingdom on earth. The Christians of the north of Europe used to come and pay gifts to the Muslim world. Everything flourished in his time. He set up the Iberian kind of Muslim empire. Muslims had honor, immense honor. Was that not good? It was good as well. So look, there's good and bad in all people, okay? So I'm not here to defend, but what I'm going to say is, look, there's good and bad in all people. And it's, people did their ijtihad, and they did, you know, and look, they were tyrants, but what do you want us to do? Islam didn't come for us to get caught up in history. Islam came with a message to live life, that it may flourish wherever you are. Let's not be trapped in our past. Let's focus on the present with our aim at the future. Okay? And if we can do that, inshallah, we can take things to places. Because I tell you, wallahi, if you focus on all your tarbiyah is, I just want to bring up my children on the hatred. And I said this and somebody tried to criticize me. I said, if any religion that teaches you hate is no religion at all. And they said, well, oh, that's not true. Allah teaches you murder is wrong and this is hate this and hate that. No, but Allah teaches you right and wrong. And as a byproduct, you hate what is wrong. But you don't hate the doer, right? You hate the action. And you definitely don't do it in a religious preaching manner. You teach people the hatred of individuals. That can't be a religion from God. But if you want to bring up your children like that, then I swear, I can swear by Allah, that you see, if not in your own lifetime, then definitely in your children's lifetime, the true challenges that are being thrown at Islam about questioning theology, about questioning ethics, morality, its clash with science, all these things, I guarantee you many of them will lose faith anyway. They will struggle immensely with their iman. So let's not get caught up in the past. Tilka ummah, look at the verse of the Quran. Tilka ummatun qad khalat. That is a nation that has gone. Laha ma kasabat. It has what it earned. Wa alayha maktasabat. If it did wrong, it is against it. وَلَا تُسْأَلُونَ عَمَّا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. You will not be asked about what they did. Okay. It is a blessing to be part of this ummah. Let's not, and we really need to grow out of these bullying tactics. Let people be, man. Let's let people be, inshallah. So right, right, thank you. So right, people, with that, I think I took up so much of your time today. I'm ever so sorry, and I'm shukran for being patient with me, hanging in there. I really needed to clear this up. So many people were just going on about this, and I really just needed to put this out there. I'm sorry I couldn't get to your personal questions. I will do so next week, definitely, right? Once again, if you want to know what I believe, I've answered them. The book, Layth, all those books. Yep, they're real. So, right, so the thing is, look, yeah, so I will get back to them. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can inbox me. You can add me on Snapchat. It's Malm, M-A-L-M. 2014. Malm, for those of you wondering, stands for Mufti Abu Layth Maliki, but the thing is Malm 2014, right? You can add me on Snapchat, you can message me there. I do try to answer questions, and inshallah I do hope, look, I want to add as well, not out of, just to be clear, that if you have any questions about what I've said, it's in there. You can go back to the anchor points. I ask everybody, look, just leave this thing of abuse. It gets us nowhere, okay? It spreads disunity. We're going through some huge challenges. Donald Trump is imposing some ridiculous anti-human right laws right now. They're being challenged, thank God, by some sane people. Merkel and other people have deemed them as well. Certain people of power and positions have said they, contravene human rights, going against the Geneva Code and things like this. So people are suffering. So let's get our priorities correct, okay, people, inshallah. So we're going to leave you to it. Take good care of yourselves. I'll see you next week, inshallah. Till then, remember me in your du'as. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Have an awesome night or evening or day, wherever you are in the world, inshallah. Right, take care. Bless. Assalamu alaikum.